All right, welcome back to the Crazy Family Adventure Podcast, where we talk all about full-time family travel in your RV for right now. Last week we talked about our feelings after being on the road for 1 year and what that felt like. So we thought this week we would talk about what we felt after 2 years on the road. So each year we would write a blog post to kind of document where those feelings were at. It's interesting to go back and look at it and kind of see where things changed and evolved as we went from year 1 to year 2. I would say the end of year 1 was kind of all about just learning the lifestyle. And to say that it took a full year to do that, for sure. Would you agree, Craig? It was at least a year that it took for us to really kind of get in the groove of everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than a year. It's still going on today, so I wouldn't even say that it's only a year. Things change, like family needs change, kids' personalities change, their needs change, so everything is kind of an evolving process, and that started the day we left our house, and it's still going on today, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. So, year 1 was about kind of figuring this stuff out more so, and year 2 we kind of dive into really kind of the lifestyle being more what our life is and then where it grew from there. So we'll go ahead and jump right in and share with you 14 things that we have learned from 2 years of RV living with kids. So the first thing was awesomeness is everywhere. And I know this kind of seems like, well, duh, yeah, it is. But I think what this got us to was that understanding that, of course, there's all those places you see, like the big things, like you go to Yellowstone, you go visit Washington, D.C., like all of these big things you can do. But what we learned is that there's also just some really cool things to do all over the country that aren't as popular and aren't as talked about, and there's just amazing things to do. Pretty much everywhere we've gone, we've been able to find something that we enjoy doing. I think it was cool to really see that and appreciate the country we live in and appreciate just the world in general more when we went out and saw and experienced and had time to explore each of these places to a deeper level.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this on a previous podcast that just with the amount of time that we can spend in places, we get to experience it at a different level than normal, Like, I think we were able to really see, like, what makes each place special compared to just kind of seeing it for 5 minutes and then moving on. So, yeah, and you can really get to appreciate things at a different level when you're able to do that, so it's a cool thing that this lifestyle can provide us.
Yeah, totally. All right, the second thing was having choices is hard. So when we went from year 1 to year 2, we kind of made a big, actually huge transition in our life in that Craig turned in his notice at his 9-to-5 job, and my business, Virtual Powerhouse, I built it up to replace his income so that he did not have to work anymore in a 9-to-5 job. And we had the flexibility of being full-time entrepreneurs. So that was a big change for us to go into that, and we were navigating that whole thing as we worked through year 1 to year 2, and Craig was figuring out different ways to make money through the website design. We were still focusing on growing the blog. I was growing my Virtual Powerhouse business, and we will have an episode in the future that talks more in detail about those businesses and what we did and how all of that worked. But what that led us to is a lot of freedom, meaning we did not have a boss over our heads telling us what time, like, Craig needed to be sitting at the table working. We just didn't have any structure without having the kids in school. So we really just had the full day in front of us. So, and what that brought up with it is that having choices is hard. It meant that in the morning we could decide to stay in our pajamas all day and not leave the RV, or it could decide that I needed to work all day that day, or that we did want to go out and explore, or we didn't want to go out and explore. And it was a challenge figuring out how to make our days work, not only for us each individually, but for our whole family and for our kids. And I feel like this is still something we're figuring out. And we've used the term de-lifing which I think ever since Craig left his 9 to 5, we've been de-lifing, meaning that we don't want structure. We don't want a schedule. We want this flexibility and this freedom to do what we want when we want it. And if opportunity comes up, we want to take it. But with that, I think brings a lot of challenges, since no one knows really what's going on each day until we're doing it. So I think that's maybe brought some tension along with it as well. And definitely as we were adjusting to this lifestyle at the end of year 2, it was hard to figure that part out.
Yeah, I think this is one that you really have to experience to know kind of what we're talking about. You may be sitting there thinking like we're complaining about something that we shouldn't complain about, but once you have all this time to yourself really to figure out how your day and your weeks are going to go, you have to figure it out. Like there's nobody guiding you or telling you where you have to be at what time, typically for us. So it's a lot of responsibility. Like we have to fill that time. We have to make sure the work stuff's getting done. We have to make sure the school stuff's getting done. We have to just live our lives as far as, grocery shopping, running errands, things like that, but then also make the most out of our days too and enjoy where we're at and all that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting one to kind of learn firsthand about, because you usually don't have that opportunity. Because like when we were in a house and I was at a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, I was up at, 7, leaving for work at 7:30 or whatever, coming home at 5, and that was it. And then you kind of chill out at home, have dinner, and watch TV maybe, and then do the same thing the next day.
Well, and the kids were in a lot of activities and stuff too, so then we had those things they had to get to at certain times, or maybe on the weekend we were taking them somewhere. So a lot more scheduled things than what we have here on the road. All right, the next thing is that after that second year, we knew we were ready to downsize. As we had talked about in one of the previous podcasts about having 4 rigs over the 5 years, at this point, we were still in our 39-foot diesel pusher motorhome, and we realized that we were ready to downsize. We felt with this big rig, it was just so big, so it was hard to just randomly stop at places, and some of the campgrounds we wanted to get into, we couldn't. So, and we also realized that we're spending a lot of time inside. It was like an apartment on wheels, so we could just sit inside for hours on end, and we were like, wait a second, this is what we want to do. We want to get ourselves outside. We want to hang out outside, live outside a little bit more. So we knew that we wanted to downsize into something smaller so that we could take our exploring to another level.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that we kind of learned at this point in our journey was that some of the stuff that we brought with us from our house, we ended up not using in those first 2 years, or we just didn't really need it to begin with, or whatever it was. So all that storage that was taken up by this stuff, we kind of cleared out. Like we got rid of it. So then we also all of a sudden saw that we could move into a smaller rig, because a lot of the stuff that was in there taking up space wasn't there anymore. So that freed us up a little bit more. And yeah, like Brianna said, like even getting gas in that 39-footer pulling a car was a challenge. Like we had to make sure we were going to a truck stop. So there was a lot of coordinating that needed to happen, and we were ready to kind of have a little more freedom with that too. So.
Even with like boondocking, like we could do it with the big 39-footer, but we wanted to have more flexibility to go even further off-road or find other places that we could do it. So we definitely knew we were ready to do that. And also, I think part of that as well, which I don't think we talked about in the rig one, was that idea that as being full-time entrepreneurs, like we didn't need to have like this office setup where like we could do a video call with our boss and make it seem like we had this nice, beautiful setup we were working at or anything. So now it became, we could work really from anywhere. So I could work sitting in the bed, or we could work sitting in the car, or we could work at the kitchen table with like everyone else around us. And that was all totally okay. So I think that gave us a lot more freedom as well to know like we could downsize even further because we had more flexibility again with this as well. All right, the next thing is number 4. Our kids don't see color or race at all. So this is something that I think comes with travel in general, but was also something that was very, very important to us, is that we wanted to have our kids exposed to as much as possible so that they would feel comfortable in all different situations with all different kinds of people. And I think what this did was pushed us out of our comfort zone, where when we were in a neighborhood back in Wisconsin, it's kind of like you go to the same stores, you go to the same whatever, you're kind of in this like bubble of like who's around you. And now all of a sudden we're out on the road, we're going to these like laundromats where we're seeing like a different crowd of people, or we're going out and we're visiting like these different sites that we're learning the history on the stuff, or when we are in a location that had to do with slavery, like we went and visited the Martin Luther King historic site, and actually physically being there and being able to walk through and experience that, and just really giving us this opportunity to show to our kids, and then seeing through their eyes that they really did feel that way too. Like they don't see color, they don't see race, like they're open and welcoming to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think naturally kids don't see that or have any, prejudices as being kids. That's kind of a learned reaction. But it's also learned that when you're around the same kind of people that look like you and talk like you, that's more comfort for them and like more normal. And so when you get into the real world, either as adults or, later in their teenage years, and all of a sudden they're thrown into this, melting pot of the world, like it could be kind of shocking for them. But like seeing this life that we're living on the road, it's all normal for them. They're seeing all different kind of people, talking with them, playing with them in the campground with other kids and stuff like that. So it's a good thing for them to kind of be raised that way and kind of have that sense of normalcy that everybody's the same as them. They're just people too.
Yep, totally. All right, the next one, number 5. Comfort zones are made for pushing. So our life is definitely all about pushing our comfort zone. And I will say that for Craig, I don't know if this is his favorite part about it. Mm-hmm. I feel
No, it's not. I like comfort and a nice big comfortable zone. So yeah.
And okay. We keep pushing that zone for him and making that zone get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I even think with the downsizing that was part of this whole process, was that we got so comfortable in the rig that we were in that we were totally ready to just move on to something smaller because we got too comfortable. So it was time to push our comfort zone again. And then as the years went on, when we started to do some international travel, we're pushing our comfort zone more. So I think there's a part of it that is just once you go down this path, your comfort zone just gets a little bigger. And then once you hit that point, you're ready to get a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger. So when I think back to like day one and how small our comfort zone was and where it is now, like that's a big difference. And I feel like in that first year, you're pushing your comfort zone, but it's also just the honeymoon phase still to an extent. Whereas we went from year 1 to year 2, we started to go, okay, the honeymoon is over. Now this is our life and what we're doing. So now what? And then you're ready to kind of take like another step and like continue to push it further and further.
Mm-hmm. And I think like as you get older, you kind of can become one of two people. One is you don't like to be out of your comfort zone at all, and you like need everything to be the same and like stable and everything like that. So you freak out when something goes wrong or bad or different. Or you can grow into one of these people that are just like, it's fine. Everything will be fine. And I think the way that we're living now and like pushing our comfort zone all the time, we're turning into those people that kind of say, it'll be fine. So cheers to that. I'm trying. I'm getting there.
You don't sound too encouraging here.
You can do it. I've done it. I'm doing it. So it's good.
Okay, there you go.
It's fine. Let's move on.
You don't sound too positive there. So I think this was also a good thing too. I think for our oldest son, for Carson, who's 12 now, I think for him, this was a big thing. Because I think had we stayed in a house in a bubble of that lifestyle for him, he would have been one of those people, kind of what Craig's getting at, that it's hard to push the comfort zone, where now, like, over the years, how we've seen his comfort zone grow and expand just on its own from living this lifestyle has been pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and I think with him, it's a good example because when we first started, everything was great. You know, it was kind of like a big vacation that he was on with his family and stuff like that. So everything was cool. And then when he kind of realized that, wait a minute, this is life and this is where we live and this is how we do things, he kind of like wasn't so happy for a little while, I think. And, we tried our best to kind of make things better for him, but it was just kind of a natural feeling. And then he grew out of it, and now he's like he's really enjoying himself. Like he's playing more, he's more active, he's smiling more, he's just happier. And so we're hoping that we broke that comfort zone barrier with him.
Yeah, we're hoping that's what it is. Again, we tell people we'll let you know in 10 years if this was good for our kids or we screwed them up. But for now, we feel like we're pretty much headed in the right direction. As much as you can as a parent. No matter what life you're living, you feel that as a parent. So
you never know.
No, you don't.
You never know.
All right, number 6, a little funny one. We don't like dry counties.
No.
So if you don't know what a dry county is, that is a place that does not sell any alcohol.
Yeah, we like to imbibe every once in a while.
And we are from Wisconsin, so there's like a bar or liquor store on every corner.
Drive-through liquor stores, for crying out loud.
You can buy it at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Like, this was an experience for us, so coming from that into this, where all of a sudden you get to a campground and you go to the store like, oh, I'm going to buy a bottle of wine or some beer. And they're like, oh, we don't sell that here. You got to drive 45 minutes to go get it in this other county over. It's like, what? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we quickly learned that was not something
that doesn't play well with us.
All right, number 7 was that Keens are the only shoes that you really need. So we figured out when we were on the road, especially with younger kids, that we really enjoyed having the Keen sandals for everyone in the family, since they could put them on, they could get wet, they could go in the water with them, they could wear them hiking. Super, super flexible for the kids to have those Keen sandals to wear and to use at that time and at those ages. I would say over the years, we've done some other things that have more like gym shoes or regular sandals and things like that. But at this point, when the kids were like 8, 6, 6, and 4, the Keen sandals were really, really good for the type of exploring and traveling that we were doing.
Yeah, and I think to kind of zoom out on this is very specific for the shoes or whatever. But I think we learned that everything we either had or wanted to get, there was intention behind it. So like we found a good product with the Keen shoes that worked really well for us. So that's what we bought, like that's what we used. Like we said before, space is a premium, and like what we have with us can be limited. So we want to make sure everything that we have works the best for us. Yep,
exactly. All right, number 8, we can really, really annoy each other.
Yeah, I'm a little fired up today. Like we had an intense conversation before we started. So number 8 ties in really well today for me,
Why don't you expand on that?
Yeah, you annoy me today. There you go.
There you go, people.
Yeah, it's real. It happens. I mean, we're living in basically a 1-bedroom apartment, whatever. So, yeah, like yesterday we were in Key West and we were all hot and sweaty, and the kids were just all over Brianna, like touching her and holding hands and wanting to hug or whatever. And yeah, she got a little personal space issue going on at that point. So it just happens. Like we're all with each other 24/7. So it's one of those things that you can really annoy each other, but we'll jump into number 9. That ties in with it, that we also really like each other. And it's one of those things, it's like those, I can talk about my mama, but you can't talk about my mama kind of thing, if that makes sense at all. You hate each other, but then you love each other even more. So I'm rambling now, so Brianna, you can jump right in.
I'd like to listen to this. I annoy him today. So
yes, yeah, and I'm working through it because it's Friday, and that's kind of like a Monday in our world, whatever that means. Okay. Yeah, no, we do annoy each other, but we also really like each other. Like we have a lot of fun together. We know each other more now than I think we ever would have in a house. So what we're hoping this translates to is just a super solid foundation for a relationship with our kids as they turn into adults, and they can choose how often they want to hang out with us, and we're trying to build something to make that like a big thing for them, like very important to them, and have us be friends rather than just mom and dad. So
we're gonna need somewhere to park that van when Craig and I are driving around. So if our kids aren't in their own houses, or if they're out on the road, we want to go with them, or if they are in their own place, we want to park our van there and spend time with them. And
Carson has promised me full hookups at his house, so He's sitting behind me right now laughing.
I'm going to have to call BS on that.
All right, all I need is electric. I don't care.
All right, there you go. But I think also this whole like really annoy each other thing, I think you need to also have tools in place to deal with that. So like when the kids were little, it would be a matter of getting them in the car, all seatbelted in, and like driving to McDonald's to get an ice cream cone and not feeling guilty about it because they were all locked in their seats, they were buckled in. I could take a deep breath for a minute and relax, and it was like a good way for everyone to kind of break up the day. Or maybe it meant we had to just all go out for a walk, or we had to just go find a park that they could run around and play in. Now, obviously, the older they get, that changes, but I think at the time it was just really finding out those outlets of how we could get out of that feeling and situation and back to where we want it to be. So number 9 was we really like each other. So yes, we can really annoy the crap out of each other, but we also really enjoy each other's company, and we're building really strong relationships, and that it's fun to be out exploring together. And it's fun to be out where, like, Craig and I are seeing something new for the first time right along with the kids, and how cool that is to be out exploring things together, where we are experiencing it together. We're not there watching them do an activity. They're not just waiting for us to get home from work at the end of the day. Like, we're able to really, like, experience all these parts of our day together, and we do really enjoy that part of it too. So, All right, number 10. There is so much more to see and do. I can't tell you how many families we have met on the road that are like, we're only going to be on the road for 1 year, and we just kind of smile and shake our head, and we don't want to give our feedback unless they ask. But we know that in 1 year, you cannot do this lifestyle justice. You really, really need multiple years in order to see and do everything. And way too many times when people try to cram it into a year, they're like rushing through things. They're spending 2 days at Yellowstone. They're going out and they're spending, 2 months just going up the East Coast and that's it. Or the West Coast in 2 months. And the reality of it is that we explored California for 6 months. Just one state.
Yeah, and what happens when they do that, when they go so hard and fast, is you get burnt out. Like, traveling takes a toll on you, and it can almost become a burden at sometimes if you're doing it so fast.
More a job.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and like especially in an RV where there's a lot of physical demands that come along with it. So, like we said, like it takes about a year just to kind of get in the groove of it, and then you can kind of settle in and really enjoy what you're doing with it because you kind of figured things out a little bit more, and now you're in a place where you can kind of just enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, and we wrote this when we were at the end of year 2, and we still said there's so much more to see and do. So even at the end of 2 years, we still did not feel like we had even really scratched the surface of all the things we wanted to do. And even now to date, we've gone back to places that we've liked and been able to explore even deeper or just spend more time there. So I think if there's any chance that you can, or if you need to set a deadline in your head, I would say at least 2 years, if not more, to consider when you are going to get on the road. And don't in that first year try to cram in all 50 states or even half of the states. Like, just relax and enjoy it and take your time and let yourself get used to the lifestyle and give the lifestyle itself credit and space, because it's not just the traveling, it's the lifestyle too.
Definitely.
All right, number 11. Anything is possible.
Sounds like a cat poster.
Should I make one with your smiling face on it?
Yeah.
I can show it to you when you're annoyed with me. All right. As we have pushed our comfort zone and continue with this lifestyle, it has taught us that anything we want to do is possible. It's really cool. Like, I think when we sit back and look at where we were at before we came on the road and like now the lifestyle we're living, and like thinking that we did this is like totally crazy and like unbelievable that we were able to do it. And I love the idea that once you take one step and you push your comfort zone a little bit, like doors kind of start to open. Either your perspective changes or literally like opportunities present themselves, but everything starts to kind of expand a little bit. And then the next thing you want to do that you thought was impossible becomes a little bit more possible. And it just continues to grow that way. And we've just really seen that really anything is possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, one thing I'll add to that is that you have to make a choice to make it possible, right? I mean, you got to work for it, and that's not always easy.
Yeah, you got to put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta not be afraid of failure or let the fear stand in the way.
Yeah, that's another cat poster. Nicely done. You're on a roll. All right, number 12.
We will have more podcasts coming out about building a business and this lifestyle and all of that, which I think does go hand in hand with that fear piece of it as well. So look for those to come. All right, number 12. You only need to shower 1 to 2 times a week.
So remember when we said we really annoy each other? I think maybe the smell is part of that.
I don't smell.
If that's what's going on here.
I put my oils on. So
you got your dirty Keen shoes. You shower once a week. You're annoying me. What? You're really bringing this down, not me. Okay, well, tell me about your 1 shower a week. How is it? Good?
It's good.
Yeah,
so seriously though, we do go like 3 to 4 days. Sometimes a little less than that, especially for Craig and I. Maybe 3 times a week.
Well, this depends where you're at. If you're in like the swamp of Florida, like you need to freshen up more than once or twice a week. But if you're in the desert where it's dry, or you're in the ocean, you're getting rinsed off anyway.
Wait, we've been in Florida for like 2 months, and you are not showering more than twice a week.
Yeah, well, it's winter.
Okay. But no, for real though, like we've realized that it's better for our skin. It's just better for everything. Like we don't need to, just as a culture, Americans shower too much. So we've realized that we don't need to be showering all the time and that it is better for our skin and all of that. And then even with the kids, like I don't even think they shower once a week. And like that's okay. Like it is healthy for them to get a little dirt and to have their skin. Like we went and got Malia's hair done and the lady was like, "Oh my gosh, I've never felt hair so soft as this. What do you use to wash it?" I go, "I think it's because she doesn't really wash it." And I think that's the reality of it. They're not putting all these chemicals on their body all the time in the shower, even the good stuff, and just letting things be more natural. And yes, if we start to see our kids are smelling, we will tell them to get in the shower and we will make sure they put deodorant on and all of that, and the same thing for us. But the reality of it is that just as part of this whole lifestyle idea of like chill out, like just chill out. You don't need a shower every day. It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good. But if you come by us and we smell, let us know and we'll go take a shower.
Yep.
All right, number 13. Our life is about experiences, not things. So, this goes across a lot of things. Obviously, when you choose to do this, you're choosing that. But it also goes into the things of just trying to be more slower and intentional with our living. Enjoying our coffee outside together in the morning or snuggling in bed for an hour in the morning. And just really trying to slow our life down. And I will say for me, this is a challenge because given my personality, I don't like to naturally slow down. So, it has been a challenge for me to really work at this and do that. But it is part of why we are living this lifestyle, so it's something that we keep front of mind and really do try to focus on and make happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with everything you said.
Another cat poster?
Well said.
All right, number 14, the last one. We have ruined ourselves for normal life. Yes, very much so. We could not imagine now going back to like a normal lifestyle. Like we've talked about it, we've cried about it, we've thought about it, and like we just can't, after seeing what this lifestyle gives us and the flexibility and the freedom, like we just can't imagine being back in like a normal life.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many different levels of that. Like there's the work aspect of it, having to go into an office 9 to 5 compared to kind of working from your home or like from the RV whenever you want, however much you need to work. And then there's the aspect of, traveling and being able to see all these cool places and having your house with you as you do this. And then, for the kids to just kind of live their lives as, kind of like as a throwback lifestyle where they're just out playing, they can just get up and go. And to change all that to kind of a more normal lifestyle, that would be very, very difficult. And I don't think it would work out for anybody long term. Like we do like to go and kind of, like last year we rented a house in Georgia and we stayed at it for a couple months and we spread out a little bit. We chilled out. We didn't really do much. Like Brianna worked a lot. And the kids kind of just were able to enjoy like the luxuries of a house. It was cool, but then when spring came, it was like, all right, let's go, and we were ready to go. And it kind of refreshed us a little bit, but like to think of doing that long term for us, that doesn't really appeal.
Yeah, and it's interesting thing though is because I feel like we know what that normal life is like when you're back in a house. And then now we know what this life is. Where like now that we know what both of those are, like sometimes I feel like we're missing that normal life in a house. And like maybe we should be giving our kids these activities and the stability of a house and like just having one place. And I start to get nervous about it, and then I stop and I think, no, we don't want that. Like, this is a lifestyle that we like and like we want to keep doing. So I think it's interesting that now that we do know both of these so in depth, that it's a challenge. Like, I didn't know going into it that we were going to have this like constant kind of battle in our heads about the two, because I didn't know like how much of this lifestyle itself. It's not just the travel part again, it's a lifestyle part, and how much that becomes a part of you and a part of what you do and how you live your life. And then to imagine it not being that way doesn't seem right, yet the kids only have one childhood. So like there is a lot of like back and forth that we go with that, and it does cause some confusion for us. So it's definitely something that's a challenge. Carson's making faces at me over here, so I think we need to have him.
The house in Georgia was great.
Come over here and
Come on in.
provide your feedback. All right, so here's Carson, our oldest. We will be doing a series where we interview each of our kids individually coming up here, but Carson just happens to be here. So what'd you say, the house in Georgia?
The house in Georgia was great.
Yeah, you liked having that?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
What'd you like about
you're
it?
talking about, huh?
What'd you like about it so much? You had your little closet you set up as your office?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had your computer in there, and yep, it was like your own bedroom, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But then what about doing the traveling? Like what the stuff we've been doing in the keys and all of that?
It's okay, I guess.
It's okay, I guess. It's all you kind of know, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's better than school, but I mean, the house in Georgia was way better.
So there you have it from the 12-year-old's mouth. He misses the house and how he could spread out there, but he likes that he doesn't have to go to school, and his school is the world. So there you go. Well, we will bring you back on, Carson, and have questions to interview you in the near future here, so you can share all your insights with everyone.
Have some pretty deep insight.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to share anything else?
We need a big RV.
So Carson always tells us we need a bigger RV, but he wants a gaming PC. So he wants a bigger RV so he can have that.
I don't know why you won't just give it to me.
Yeah, he's the one with the wee bitty comfort zone.
Yep.
He likes his stuff.
He doesn't like it
He's
to be
very
pushed.
particular. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for these 14 things.
It does.
Right?
So we do have a blog post on this as well, so we'll put a link to that in the show notes. And please do comment, review, all of that. Send us an email if there's another topic you want us to cover, whatever it may be.
Rate us on Apple Podcasts.
Yes, please do
Please.
that. And I know some people out there did already.
Thank you.
We really, really appreciate that. We really have no idea what we're doing here. So any insight and direction we can get, we appreciate it. Next week, we are going to cover our 3 years on the road and the blog post we wrote at that time about what that felt like after we've been on the road for 3 years and what's kind of different from the 2 and the 1 year mark. So tune in next week for that. And
Is it 3 years, or I thought we jumped to 5?
Nope, we have 3. We don't have 4.
Got it.
Then after
How
that,
did we go
we'll
from
start.
3 to 5?
Because in year 4, I didn't write anything.
Do they celebrate the 4th of July in England? Or do they have the 4th of July in England?
Guess not.
What do they go from the 3rd to the 5th? Oh, bada bing!
All right.
All right, with that, we're signing off.
Okay,
Thanks for listening.
we're not signing off yet. So after that, we are going to then move into our series on interviews, where we will interview Carson, we'll interview Malia, we'll interview Cannon, we'll interview Knox, each of them on their own. So if you do have specific questions for them as well, please do shoot us an email and let us know so that we can make sure that we ask them those questions.
Yeah, they're watching Star Wars.
All right, sounds good. We'll check back with you guys next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.